Your child's sensory world is completely different from yours. Here's what the research tells us and why it changes everything. Let's start with what sensory processing actually means. Sensory processing is how your child's brain takes in information from their senses: sight, sound, touch, taste, smell, and then makes sense of it. For autistic children, this process works differently. A finding from our research: autistic children demonstrate different patterns of parasympathetic activity during sensory stimulation compared to typically developing controls. That means their nervous system responds differently to the same sensory input. Not worse, just different. This isn't about being too sensitive or not sensitive enough. It's about how the brain is wired. Here's what most people don't understand. There are two types of sensory differences. Sensory modulation is the more commonly discussed one. This is about how your child responds to sensory input. Over-responding, can't handle loud noises. Under-responding, doesn't notice pain. It's about the intensity of the response. But there's another type that's less understood. Sensory discrimination is about how well your child interprets sensory input. This is different from modulation. A child might have excellent modulation. They handle loud noises fine, but poor discrimination. They can't tell the difference between similar textures. They can't tell if they're hungry or anxious. They struggle to distinguish between important and unimportant sensory information. This is why picky eating often isn't pickiness. It's sensory discrimination with food textures. Clumsiness often isn't clumsiness, it's poor proprioceptive discrimination. Not listening often isn't defiance. It's auditory processing discrimination. Difficulty interpreting or distinguishing sensory input is often misread as behavioral problems. Let me explain the research behind this. The finding on parasympathetic activity is significant. Your child's autonomic nervous system, the part that controls fight, flight, freeze, and rest, responds differently to sensory input. When their vagal nerve activates during sensory stimulation, it changes how they experience the world. This explains why transitions can be overwhelming. Unexpected sounds cause big reactions. Being touched unexpectedly feels like an attack. They need time to regulate. This isn't behavior, it's neurology. The research tells us this is a real, measurable difference in how autistic nervous systems process the world. There's another sense that doesn't get enough attention: interoception. This is the sense of your internal body signals. Hunger, thirst, pain, temperature, needing the bathroom, and emotional feelings. It's the brain's internal map. From our research, autistic people may struggle to differentiate between body signals and emotional signals. For example, being unable to discern whether discomfort is due to hunger or anxiety. This is huge. It affects behavior, eating, and emotional regulation. It affects their ability to predict their own needs. Your child might not tell you they're hungry until they're ravenous. They might not notice they need the bathroom until it's an emergency. Big emotions appear out of nowhere because signals weren't recognized. Researcher Kelly Mahler has done important work on this. Interoception is directly linked to emotional regulation difficulties. There's a framework that helps make sense of all this. It's called Dunn's sensory processing model. It looks at two things: neurological threshold and behavioral response. This creates 4 quadrants: sensor, high sensitivity, passive response, overwhelmed, withdraws; bystander, low sensitivity, passive response, misses input; avoider, high sensitivity, active response, controls environment to manage input; seeker, low sensitivity, active response, craves more. Your child might be in different quadrants for different senses. That's normal. Understanding this helps you support them appropriately. For twice exceptional children, this gets more complex. Gifted children may have heightened sensitivity through Dabrowski's overexcitabilities. When you're autistic and gifted, sensory differences can be attributed to just being sensitive, and the real challenge gets missed. Sensory discrimination issues in 2E kids are often misattributed to behavior. Your child isn't being difficult, they're doing the best they can. Now let's talk about what actually helps. 1. Identify the type of sensory difference. Is it modulation or discrimination? Different strategies for each. 2. Build interoceptive awareness. Help your child notice internal signals. Use visual timers and routine check-ins. What does your body feel like right now? 3. Provide sensory nutrition. Just like food, your child needs sensory input to regulate. Build sensory breaks into the day proactively. 4. Lower the demand. When sensory overwhelm is high, everything else becomes harder. Lower expectations during sensory-dense times. 5. Trust your observations. You know your child's sensory world better than anyone. Don't let professionals minimize what you're seeing. Your child's sensory experience is real. Their nervous system processes the world differently. That isn't something to fix. It's something to understand. Please save this video, share it with other parents, and comment below with your own experiences. You know your child better than any meta-analysis.